When you walk along the waterways today, it's easy to forget the hardships that shaped the waterways and the lives of the people who called the canals their home. But among the black and white faces captured in old photographs of days gone by, one woman's story shines brighter than most: Sister Mary Ward. In a time when the canal network was still the vital working lifeblood of England, the families who lived and toiled on the water were largely ignored by the wider world, still considered to be on the fringes of society. And so one woman stepped forward to serve the community that nobody else would. Not a fairy tale, but a true story of one woman's courageous and kind determination. And still today, it's a story that most don't know. She was born Ellen Hollowell Amos Ward, born in Stoke Bruin in 1885 to a local rope and twine manufacturer. While she never formally qualified as a nurse, she spent a decade nursing in various convents around Europe and other places before returning home sometime in the 1930s to care for her sick father. It was during this time she found herself reconnecting with the families of the Grand Union Canal and their isolated world away from normal society. She also took on the name Mary in memory of her beloved sister who sadly she lost. She quickly realised that boat families were constantly on the move and had virtually no access to healthcare, amongst other things. Children were born without midwives, minor injuries festered into serious infections, coughs turned into pneumonia, and there were no doctor's surgeries on the towpath. And for some of the single-handed boaters without families, no clean sheets or warm meals would be waiting at the end of a long day's work. For many, if not all the boat families, this neglect and hardship meant severe struggles and illnesses, sometimes even death. Even as the NHS was just beginning to offer services, its reach simply didn't extend to the boaters and their world. Their journeys were beyond brutal. A working boat could travel non-stop from London to Birmingham in approximately 60 hours, with mere minutes to seek help as they passed through busy towns or cities. They had a time scale to stick to and a cargo that needed to be at its destination without delay. There simply was no time to stop. This urgency is precisely why Sister Mary opened her own home, transforming it into a clinic directly on the lock landing at Stoke Bruin. She initially did this unofficially, financing everything herself, from medicines to medical instruments and vital equipment, vaccinations, clothes, blankets, and more, tirelessly keeping the same hours as the boaters. It was a long time before the Grand Union Canal Carrying Company recognised the benefits of her work and began to provide a small honorarium of £2 a week and bestowed the title of Sister upon her. It was a pivotal moment, as no other canal companies were offering any such recognition of her selfless works or offering any help to the families who kept the canals alive. Boaters gained quick, easy access to vital care without significantly interrupting their critical journeys if it could be helped. Her selfless acts of benevolence profoundly changed the landscape of boating on the Grand Union Canal, as many would travel considerable distances, enduring their illnesses along their journey, knowing that Sister Mary's clinic offered the only real help available to them. She became their angel. From that small cottage beside Lock 15, she ran a free dispensary, performing the services of a trained nurse and even some that would be typically done by a doctor. She worked under the most difficult circumstances, without gas, electricity, or a telephone, and while the village itself still depended on the local well for drinking water. She gave vaccinations, set broken bones, cleaned wounds meticulously, often preventing infections that could lead to amputations or worse. She delivered babies in often very challenging situations and truly saved the lives of many mothers and babies with every single safe delivery that she completed. As well as this, she provided comfort and palliative care to the dying. And more than this, she gave her heart to each and every one of the community who came to her for help. But she didn't just wait for patients to come to her either. If someone couldn't make it to the surgery, she went to them. She was well known for her grit, sometimes walking miles along the towpath through heavy rain, freezing ice, thick snow, or boggy mud, sometimes at night, sometimes alone with no light to guide her, just to reach a sick child or an injured worker. Other days, it meant stepping aboard the very boats where the injured or ill lay waiting for assistance. She is recorded as bravely boarding narrowboats even when highly infectious diseases were present, showing immense courage of will and disregard for her own safety, giving her time, strength, and heart without hesitation. Before Sister Mary, other attempts at canal reform often stemmed from misunderstanding, viewing the boating communities as outsiders and often shunning them, despite the fact that their very world was propped up by the goods and services that the boat people provided through their arduous lifestyles that kept them outcast from society. There was a profound lack of insight into their world, how families functioned as a unit, how children played vital roles on the boats, and how their whole existence was tied to the waterways. Boaters had felt deeply insulted by reformers whose efforts to change their lives often came across as judgmental. Reformers had tried to separate families with rules and legislation instead of supporting them in their struggles to support a growing nation. Sister Mary Ward, however, was different. She approached them with unparalleled compassion and understanding. Her kind nature and patience for their unique way of life didn't offend the boaters, but instead touched them in a way that they had never experienced. She earned their trust and affection, becoming someone they truly respected and relied upon in matters not just medical, and it was precisely this deep bond and gratitude that led them to bestow upon her the honorary title of Angel of the Waterways. She was once quoted as saying, "You can't take me away from the boat people. There isn't one of them wouldn't die for me or one that I wouldn't die for." It wasn't just medicine she brought, it was dignity. She helped families to register births, read letters aloud, wrote replies for those who could not read and write, organised Christmases and birthdays, and for many boaters, she was the only one who truly listened and the only one that they could confide in. She helped families navigate complex legal bureaucracy and financial turmoil and gave them a voice in a world that had often ignored them. She wasn't just a nurse, she was their confidant, their advocate, and the heart of their community, even providing basic necessities like warm clothing or food when a family was truly destitute. Sister Mary Ward cared, and she had become a true friend of the floating community who passed through the locks of Stoke Bruin. Her dedication did not go unnoticed by the wider public, and in a touching tribute to her lifetime of contributions, Sister Mary Ward was featured on the popular television show This Is Your Life on April 13th, 1959, where she was movingly reunited with many of the boating families that she had helped over the years. It was a testament to the profound and lasting impact that she had on countless lives along the canals. Some of her greatest contributions were that she gave consistent, compassionate healthcare to a community abandoned by the system. Because of her, wounds were dressed, illnesses were caught early, and lives were saved. Her home became the beating heart of canal healthcare. In recognition of her unparalleled dedication, she was awarded the British Empire Medal for her services in 1951. She had become a voice that could not be ignored. Though she officially retired at 72 in 1957, she continued caring for the local boat people for another 7 years. It was because of her relentless work, which continued until her passing in 1972, that the government finally began to notice. The British Waterways Board and other authorities had only started making provisions for the welfare of boat people due to her life's work and her reluctance to fully retire until such future care plans and provisions had been set up to take over her duties. She paved the way for future nurses, doctors, and welfare workers to take on the roles dedicated to the canal communities, although none would ever hold a place in the hearts of the boat folk like Sister Mary. After her passing, things continued to change and improve significantly. By the 1980s, children born on boats were attending schools on shore thanks to evolving legislation. Mobile healthcare became more accessible, and canal families started gaining the rights and respect that they'd been denied for generations. And yet, none of this would have happened if not for her relentless efforts and self-sacrifice. Her cottage still stands beside the lock in Stoke Broom. These days, it's the village takeaway, but behind it sits a modest gravestone for Sister Mary. I placed flowers as we passed through recently and thanked her for her service, because without her tireless efforts, many lives would have needlessly been lost and a desperate community would have gone without a voice. She didn't wear a hero's cape, she wore an apron. She didn't ask for praise, she asked where it hurt. Let us not forget that sometimes the biggest revolutions begin with one person. Remember her name, Sister Mary Ward.